Greetings and welcome to the Author Spotlight for the Eastern Region's Delta Authors on Tour, a signature event developed by the National Arts and Letters Commission of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Incorporated. The Pittsburgh Alumnae Chapter is proud to serve as the host chapter for the Eastern Region. The purpose of the Delta Authors on Tour is to promote literacy and the talents of over 340 Delta authors within our sisterhood. This literary extravaganza will be held Saturday, May the 6th, 2023 at the University of Pittsburgh. The theme, Bridges to Literary Excellence, will feature 8 phenomenal authors whose works are comprised of fiction, nonfiction, and a myriad of genres and topics that will appeal to all interests. We are proud to have the opportunity to spotlight our own gifted writers and assist them in selling their books. This event will support Black women entrepreneurs, celebrate the joy of reading, inspire our creativity, and instill a sense of pride. I'm your host, Dr. Tysana Jones from the Pittsburgh Alumnae Chapter. Today, we are joined by Theresa Williams Harrison. Her mantra, achieving the seemingly unachievable, could be easily the title of her life story. Currently, as a member of the Frederick Alumnae Chapter, this Baltimore native started her career as a software and storage engineer in spacecraft and satellite for agencies and companies across the United States. She is the founder and president of George Street Services Incorporated, an action-driven technology company and trusted partner facing challenges in commercial intelligence and cyberspace communities. Her first book, Business Success Secrets, is an anthology of entrepreneur stories, including successes, failures, and secrets to guide the journey to building and growing a business, and is on the bestsellers list for USA Today, Wall Street Journal, and Amazon. Her second book is on course to surpass the first. Yes, you are able. Williams Harrison shares pieces of her personal journey to inspire those with dreams and aspirations to take them off the shelf and to get busy. Ms. Harrison, thank you for joining us today. Please, we are so happy to have you. Could you please tell us about your latest book?
You know, I have to start out by saying thank you. I am so excited to be here. And when I think about my book, what I'd like to share is it's called Yes, You Are Able, because I am sharing my story. And I decided to take a different approach. So the book is about me going on a journey along with the reader, and showing the reader the peaks, the valleys, the summits, and the mountains that they will face on their journey, and sharing with the reader some of the insights and lessons learned, and the fact that if I did it, you can do it. There is nothing that you cannot do.
Wow, that is inspiring in and of itself. So tell me more about what inspires you to write this. Why would you want to share this story for others? Is there more?
You know, throughout my life, people often ask me to write about my life and my stories. And they said, you know, you need to share. And I often thought about it, and I came to the realization eventually, you're right, I do need to share. And I will share. So it was an opportunity really for me to share my story here.
And I'm so grateful. So what is your writing process? Tell me more about how you got into just doing it, getting all these experiences. Like your bio is so big and so much. How did you decide kind of what's the most important to get on paper?
My writing process is a little different. I was born and raised in Baltimore, and I grew up in a family of 13. My parents have 11 children. And the dinner table was important for us. We were required to have dinner together. And at dinner, there were always amazing stories being shared about the day, about the future, about the past, about challenges, about valleys, about mountains. And so keep in mind that that is the most important part of my upbringing, and that's the part I miss the most. So my writing process actually was I have a sister who on paper will appear as unachievable, but she has the most brilliant and beautiful mind. She and I would sit at the kitchen table and share stories. My writing process was done at the kitchen table with my sister and her beautiful mind. So once a month, we got together at the kitchen table, which is integral in my family and in my life. And that's where I would write my stories.
That's beautiful. I'm just imagining what that looked like. And I was initiated in Baltimore Metropolitan Alumni Chapter. So I'm like, oh, Baltimore. I'm connected. I feel what you just said and I see it in my eyes. And so what do you want your readers to take away from your writing?
You know, I thought a lot about my book and what I was going to share. And what I want the readers to take away is this is not a how-to book. It is a how-to-think book. There's a difference between a how-to-do and a how-to-think. This is a how-to-think book, regardless of where the reader is coming from. To know that you can really control your thoughts and put a path and a plan in place. The results are immeasurable, and it also, along the way, help the reader get up and say, you know what? I put that goal on the shelf. I put it under the pillow. I put it down under the dirt because it was too big. It's too high. It's too hard. It's too much. To rewire their mind and how to think about getting it done. Wow. That I want readers to leave saying that, yes, I can do this. And yes, I am able.
Yes, beautiful. And so what advice, because you already started talking about it, what advice would you give inspiring writers who are trying to find their voice and to get published?
I am not a professional writer, but I do tell stories, and almost any of us can tell stories. So one way to get started is not to focus on, I'm going to sit down and write this book. Mm-hmm. I've tried that for 30 years. That did not yield a book. But if you sit down and write your story and think about what parts of your story you want to focus on, whether it was research, whether it was history, it doesn't matter what it is. Telling a story is much easier, in my opinion, than going in saying, I'm going to write a book. So tell your story. That's what I recommend to writers.
That's right. Tell your story. I love that. I love that so much. All right. So we have this brand new book coming out, but what's next? I hate that. What's next? As you're promoting, what's next on the horizon? I just feel more stories coming from you. I want to hear more from the kitchen table. Honestly, that's just my personal opinion.
You know what? Actually, that's what's next. My sister and I are writing a book, and this book is based on the fact that we grew up in the same household, in the same neighborhood, with the same parents always in our lives, going to the same church. You get my flow of everything was the same, but we have two totally different views on everything. And so the book is about, you can grow up with the same everything and have different outcomes. So I am sharing a book with this beautiful mind that I mentioned earlier, that on paper appear unaccomplished, so that you could see that her view, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a different view. That's what's coming next.
I'm so intrigued. I'm looking forward to all of your books, but I'm excited to hear how this goes and what's next and telling stories. I think that's huge. A lot of us get stuck with the bigger thing, but we realize that we don't tell our own stories, and we need, because there's something to learn from that. Thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you and meeting you in Pittsburgh, May the 6th, for the Delta Authors on Tour. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, and I am more than excited and look forward to meeting all of you. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.